for coming back onto attribution time. You are full fall, winter like feel right now. I love it.
Yes.
It's you got the lighting, you got the sweater. It's perfect. Um, so let's dive in. So our part one was we really dived into partner operations. We talked a little bit about how we track that from the campaign perspective. But we're gonna dive into it today of the technical aspects of it, not just from the partner op side of things, but like your approach, how you view those things. Because I mean, you're working across different groups within the businesses. You're trying to figure out how do we track all these things, how do we do all that. So I'm super pumped about just jumping into this and learning more about your view and your approach to attribution. So thanks for being on again.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. Like that's what we talked about at the end of the call was we got off the call and we thought, well, we talked about like a lot of high level strategy, and that happens a lot, I think, in partnerships. And there's a lot of ideas floating around. And that was like our immediate follow up was we never even got to the technical stuff. And
Yeah.
that's the stuff for me personally. If you look back at my own journey toward like I do the writing, I have my podcast. There's just a lack of real technical, tactical solutions out there available. But maybe it's a lot of like people want to keep their ideas to themselves. You don't find a way to profit off of what you do, right? I get that. Fortunately for me, I don't care as much about that. I've got a full time job, and that's great. And I've been solving some of these problems for a while. So from that perspective, and where do you want to start? Like, where should we dive in terms of like solving the technical attribution problem for partnerships?
Yeah, well, I think you tell me. You're the partner guy. Like when you jump into an organization, or if you're talking to someone. If I'm a partner ops guy at an organization that's starting fresh with partner ops, and I say, hey, I need to get this figured out. Like, where do you even begin? Is it as simple as jumping into that campaign structure and figuring that out? Because I mean, even
Oh,
you
there
and
you
I
go. Yeah,
talked
that's a
about
good
like
question.
the CRM
First
side
of
and how
all,
that's all
if
sales.
yeah, first of all, if anyone's listening and you're new in partner ops and you're trying to figure out where to go, am happy looking at engaging in some coaching contracts next
Do it.
year. So
Whoever's
just
listening,
pitching
do
because
it.
I'm here. Right. I'm happy to do that. But at the end of the day, when you get started in partner ops, the first place I always look is the CRM. You're talking about marketing attribution. Now I have to give, and I think we did this in the last episode, I have to give marketing its due for partner operations because that's where most companies start.
Yep.
Partner operations is the marketing effort, managing MDF, managing campaigns. But campaign attribution is already there at most companies, right? So if you do a partner campaign or a partner event, you got a new campaign record that's going to roll right into your existing metrics. You'll be able to see that. But that doesn't tell the story. That's like for lead generation and net new. That doesn't tell the story of when a partner is out
Well,
in their
real quick. So it's
business.
yeah, you got the lead gen or net new,
Yeah.
or you have last touch. So attribution at the bare bones CRM level,
Yeah.
it's those are kind of the two main touches of the very first couple ones or the very last one. And
That's fair.
that's
Yeah.
about all
What
you
brought
really
you
get.
in? What was the
Yeah.
last thing you did? And then maybe somewhere in the middle, we're cramming a text field full of all the campaigns you've ever been a part of, right?
Right, right.
And that's we talked about that, I think, too, like the narrative of a partner or not a partner, but the narrative of a customer journey lives in these data fields. It doesn't always surface as a good story, which can
Yeah.
make it hard for people to pick up. But that's just one aspect of it, right? That's if you've
Yep.
got affiliate partners or you're running events with partners, webinars or live events with partners. And that's the genesis of partner operations. Like that comes out of the channel reseller days, major conference days when you had channel resellers and distributors. All that stuff still exists. People still need all of that. But where attribution is failing for a lot of people is when you get to that direct attribution because a partner is now bringing you a net new customer because of their own sales process. They've uncovered that there's a need, or they found a customer, or they've signed that agreement and now they're trying to mine their network, or you're trying to use an account mapping tool like a Crossbeam or Reveal or Partner Tap just to figure out where to go. That's where attribution tends to fall apart. And this is where it gets really technical because CRMs are built for sales. They like to think they're built for marketing, but you and I both know that they're not. Like
Yeah.
inherently, the tools are fine, but you always need the secondary marketing tools and things like that to help really manage your concepts, right? Partnerships is no different. When you get to partnership and you get past the need for marketing attribution, people go, great. And this is where it comes from. And is you got your program, somebody comes along and says, great, how much money did you produce, right? Like you want us to keep investing in partnerships. You're asking me for new headcount, justify it, right? And this is why I've shifted my own focus. Like I'm trying to find a way to talk to more CROs and less
Mhm.
partnership people. No offense to partnership people, but they don't have a checkbook. The CROs
Right,
have to write the
exactly. They don't
checkbook
have the
for
money
my
behind them.
role.
That's right.
Exactly. So, and when the partner leaders come asking this question, it's because they have to justify their job to the CRO, to the C-suite, and they do that based on revenue, right? One of the things I can say professionally I've evolved to understand and be less offended by is that if you can't tell people how your job impacts revenue, you are at risk. I don't care
Right.
what role you have in the company, whether you're a CS Frontier 1 or you are an accountant, analyst level 1. Like if you don't know how you're impacting revenue at the company, figure that out. And that's what's happening. So pick them up.
Right.
They great. This is usually the first time anyone looks at the CRM and says, great. Oh, we should probably have partner accounts in here.
Right.
Right. And then so
Yep.
attribution starts as a direct relationship for most companies, a direct relationship between a lead or an opportunity as a data object to a partner account. And so
Yep.
you'll get a field that'll say partner account or partner sourced, right? And then they'll go, oh, well, is it influenced or is it sourced? So you might get a second one of like
Sure.
engagement type, or is it check boxes? People love check boxes for quick solutions, and it drives
Yeah.
me batty. That's another podcast, right? So this
A
is where
true false doesn't
attribution
answer all the
starts.
questions, Aaron.
It doesn't, right? And then you can't change it easily in the future.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where it starts, right? So when you're evolving past campaigns, it's great. Did this lead come from a partner? Well, how do we know? Where's the partner account reference? Okay, well, we'll stick a partner account in the system. We'll give that to Aaron because he's the partner owner, and then we'll associate it to the lead. And that's where attribution starts. That's the solution most companies will start with. It's a fine solution when you're small. As you can probably imagine, that's not scalable. You
Yeah.
don't get the nuance of multi-partner touch attribution, right? That's a
Yep.
growing trend. Well, we don't just have one partner. Jay McMahon will talk about this at Canalys. People will cite their research constantly right now. Like, how many points is like 6 or 7 different partners could potentially be involved in your transaction, and how are you tracking that? It's not through a marketing campaign, and it's not through a single deal reference. But you also can't crowd your opportunity and lead layout with 7 related lists to
Yeah.
another object, whether it's Salesforce or HubSpot or any other CRM. That's just going to slow your performance down in the system, which is not something people think about. Um, yeah, I could go from here. I want to pause, give you a chance to offer feedback because I'm just rambling right now. But
No,
that's where
no,
attribution starts is we
this
have to
is good
justify the
because
program, and that's where we go. We rush to put an object on a connection, and then we keep going from there.
yeah, and that's how attribution is initially first done, right? And that's what
Yep.
you're saying. But even from the marketing ops side, you say, okay, we have to do attribution. You have like typically a marketing automation platform that's going to write that information of like, here's how this was initially sourced or found or
Mm-hmm.
whatever accredited to. This is the first response in which we see. And then from there, it's, some tools will be able to track each individual program which is engaged. But you mentioned, and I don't know if this was just kind of a slip within it, but you said multi-partner touch attribution, and so you have a new acronym for me, the MPTA, as opposed to just the MTA.
Now, I would
But
say multi-touch. Don't stick multi-touch attribution hyphen partners, right? Keep your
okay,
core acronym because that's something that marketing people understand, and that's what we're asking for now.
that's right.
2 years ago, if I would have asked like that, because when people started asking me for this at the companies I was at, I went to the RevOps people I know, and I'm like, hey, man, I like one of the challenges, by the way, as from a partner ops perspective, and I think marketing. I'd be interested to get your thoughts on this. If you go touch opportunities, your sales team and your RevOps team are like red flag, red flag, red flag.
Yep.
Stop, stop, stop. That's not yours. That's ours. Leave that alone, right?
Yep.
So doing any work of meaning right on that object inside of the system is a technical blocker because they're
Yep.
going to limit you left and right. And anytime you want to do a validation, they're like, well, our validations come first, buddy. So like
Yep.
now you're also stacking up behind all this workflow and stuff that's not for you. I don't know. I'm just shaking your head like you know that problem, right? Like,
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's why attribution tools have grown so much, right?
yeah,
Is because it's rather than it living in the marketing system, attribution tools are able to take data from the CRM, which is primary sales force, right? The
well,
sales
source of
engine,
truth. It's never
source of
accurate. Go ahead.
truth. Yep, exactly. Because the opportunities there, to your point,
Uh-huh.
if you cannot tie yourself back to dollars, you're not a part of the conversation. And so
Mm-hmm.
but to your point, like a lot of these systems, you'll see they don't even touch Salesforce. Like as far as they don't push their data to Salesforce because sales start seeing this, they get a little cautious. They're like, hey, what does this mean? And so you see a lot of systems that actually have their data living in their own UI of saying, okay, we can show you all of this of marketing's engagement. We can also show you sales, but we're going to show it all in our own system because we know there's some leeriness.
And every team does this, right? CS
Yeah.
does the same thing. Gainsight is a big CS platform right now. Gainsight is basically an integration where you can pull all your Salesforce over here and then you do what you want for CS because we don't want to mess with the core stuff that sales owns.
Right.
Partnerships has the same problem. We just don't have the same type of tools and systems. The market would tell you, and this is where I get a lot of pushback and people will raise a red flag and you might get some nasty emails, that PRMs will solve this problem, but they don't. And
give me the acronym of PRMs here.
PRM is a partner relationship management. Now, these have been around for a long time. They evolved, by the way. If you go look at some of these systems and their actual code, you can see some of the legacy. Like these came out of resellers, right? The longer, more established vendors in this space are from channel resellers. Channel resellers needed tools because they needed to manage marketing programs with channel resellers. So even PRMs have their history in marketing automation through channel marketing automation. Yeah. Most of the big players that you'll see like on the Canalys report or G2 that are selling themselves on that PRM, full relationship management, they're moving toward ecosystem. All of them, their core features, core functionalities. Well, a variety. Oh, there goes the fun features. If you're watching this, I apologize. I guess the reactions on the iPhone stuff are now turned on, so you might see bubbles and fireworks. All that to say, like once again, I just like to lately I've been trying to call back to the roots of marketing for partner operations people. I mean, even just last week, somebody was saying we're talking about like marketing data or accuracy of data, and I was like, listen, I trust the marketing data more than I trust the CRM data most of the time because marketing is responsible for doing all of the work to keep accounts aligned, especially in an ABM rhythm.
Marketing always has to show their worth, right?
Yeah, exactly. They're one of the first companies.
To your point earlier,
one of the first ones that have to do
that, right? Sales is saying I'm associated to this op because I'm the account owner, so I own this. And that's I talk about this all the time with my clients. Is like, look, it's good to pull in sales engagement. It's good to track sales engagement. You need to have those conversations. But at the end of the day, I kind of poke fun at sales. They don't need help, talking about how they close the deal. They know that, and everyone else will know that's how they make money. So there's a fine balance. And when you're tracking sales engagement as a part of the multi-touch attribution, as well as, as you pull in partners and everything else, marketing or operations in general does a really good job of saying, how do we just track all of this so that we can better understand the go-to-market motion? Yeah. And that's where I think attribution tools are really helpful in that. And if you're actually doing attribution correctly, it should be doing that. I'm going to actually loop us back around because what we've done is we've actually exited and say, okay, we're going to, Gainsight and stuff like that. We're going to have our data over here. We're going to do our data over here. I even mentioned some companies will do attribution companies will do data in their own place. At the end of the day, it has to be in Salesforce.
Yeah,
or it has
you're right.
to be
The
in your
story
BI
has to live there.
where it's your source of truth. It has to be there. And so, yes, even though you all these tools can do that, it's like, that's great. You can record all that. But if it's not in Salesforce, that as flawed as it may be, it has to be there.
And I want to go generic though, right? I'm a Salesforce admin. I was talking to somebody the other day about this. When you get into business operations, and marketing is probably the same way. You might have tools that you prefer. A lot of that is going to be like, what's the first major platform I had to work with that I had to learn for work? For me, it was Salesforce. So I've been a Salesforce admin since 2010. I've never gone super deep. I'm more of a product owner mindset when it comes to systems and tools. So I've got a dangerous level of technical knowledge where I could really screw things up, but I also know when to let other people do their job better than I do it, which is quite often. But like Salesforce, HubSpot, there's a whole thing like, cost of ownership. HubSpot is they don't have anywhere near the overall market share of Salesforce, but they're a really popular company for smaller companies. The thing is, when it comes to partnerships, so if we back up again to what you were talking about marketing attribution, right? Sales is easy because sales goes, oh, look, that opportunity was $100,000 and I closed it. Congratulations. Oh, there goes the bubble again, probably. Congratulations. You get $100,000 of quota retirement and you get a commission off $100,000. And then marketing and this is where I've been paying more attention. Like the marketing ops machine is about 10 years ahead of where partner ops is in terms of evolving the role and recognizing marketing ops as a function. So marketing then shows up and says, okay, but that closed opportunity, here's the hyper detailed data path of where it came from a lead, and it came from that campaign. So now we're going to take your $100,000. We're also going to associate that to this first touch campaign and this last touch campaign, and maybe a portion of it goes to all these other campaigns, right? So now marketing's starting to break down that $100,000 to figure out like what touch points actually helped get that in the door. And then your BDRs are going to claim a chunk of that $100,000 and say, cool, well, I set that meeting up. So my conversion rate for my meetings, like everyone is trying to justify themselves.
Absolutely.
That's what's happening with partnerships too. The big difference, in my opinion, with this is that partnerships can enter the game at any point in this funnel, right? Marketing is typically your front end, and they're driving that account-based engagement. We're going to get the accounts, mature the accounts, educate people more and more. But once they're in the door, the marketing engine has less of an impact, I think. And you tell me if you agree or not, on the future close, right? Like marketing content matters because but now we're looking at enablement content. We're looking at sales engagement, phone calls, emails, right? Even the BDR comes in. If they do their job right, they're warming that up. They get a meeting set and then they're out of the deal. Partnership could be the one that starts the conversation and then carries them through the door and then meets there with the first meeting and then walks all the way to close.
Right.
And you've got to, and we don't always have the right tools to track that. Do you feel like this is accurate? I'm saying that right? Is that,
I like that. Consistent? What I would also say is like what partner ops is an accelerator, right? I think that's one way to approach it. Partnerships. Sorry. No.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think partner ops is a huge accelerator. Don't get me wrong. Should be your second hire, and your first hire for partnerships should be a strong operator, but please continue.
Yeah. Sorry. No, it's good to catch me on the lingo. So yeah, but in that example, partnerships are the accelerators, right? They're the ones that are helping accelerate getting the lead or getting the contact to a certain level, to a certain stage. You know, everything at the highest level, all you're tracking is funnel metrics. But partnerships are the accelerators through each of those, right? What sales is doing is just qualifying and moving them through each one. But if what I'm hearing is partnerships are, if the relationship is true to that, what that is, they're the ones accelerating those, because those should be moving a lot faster than our past funnel metrics and the way that we tracked funnels in the past without partners would be. And we're going 5-10 years back, gated content, nurture, like we're doing all these things.
Exactly, right.
But the those aren't really accelerations. Those are just, moving people along a path. Partnerships are these accelerators. So that's one thing I would say there. And then to your comment around, well, where does marketing fit kind of post op creation? And, where that deal is really getting more mature. I think you're spot on. Content is where that becomes really more vital, right? And there's systems around that, but I think, again, with multi-touch attribution, that's where marketing needs to be really honing in on what content's doing what to help make sure that those engagements are moving through that, and then they can say, okay, well, let's create more content like this, or yada yada.
Yeah, and when you're looking at companies now in a world where you've got companies like 6 Sense and Demand Base and this aggregation, like this phenomenally powerful information in an age where email is less valuable than ever, and Google and Yahoo and these providers are now like shutting down your pipe for a cold email. Like you are going to have to be just a really good company to get people in the door, right? That's where the marketing automation becomes important, because at the top of the funnel is more generalized information. And as you start to identify these people and invest in these really expensive tools to get better account-based triggers, and account-based marketing is another aspect. Like I'm in the process of adapting yet another company from a historical lead gen concept to an ABM rhythm. So getting back to like technical stuff for people who were listening, like, guys, you're still talking a lot of theory, and we all know this technical stuff. Partner operations, when you get a job in a partner operations, what I tell people is you have to start with the CRM and look at what's happening in the CRM. Typically, partner operations is driven by, hey, we bought a PRM, or we want to buy a PRM, that partner relationship management, because we're having problems with deal reg. That is a very, very common challenge. That's what drives partner operations at lots of smaller companies. And by the way, I'll say small companies, but that could range from anywhere from like 50 people, depending on what their PL, if they're a partner-led growth company, all the way up to 3,000. You're going to have the same problems at these companies, which is nuts sometimes.
Yeah.
But you come in and you're looking at the CRM, and you typically what you find, depending on the maturity of the company, is okay, if they have an existing PRM, then there's some kind of deal reg rhythm, which means they're using leads. Those leads are coming in and being tied to opportunities or leads directly, because that's how PRM systems are built. They use that account and that contact information to expose that in a third-party platform. So that's how you get visibility, and that's a direct relationship. That's real technical, more than maybe most people like, I don't know, but that's a related field, right? On the lead and on the opportunity. But what if you have another partner influencing that deal, and you don't necessarily, you're not going to pay the partner, but you want to know, like, they're willing to speak and act as a reference? Well, you can't put them on that deal directly because that's already been done for that PRM, and you may not have legal's permission to share that information with this other partner, but you want to tell the salesperson that Aaron sent the deal in.
Yeah.
But he's going to give us a referral, so please talk to him too. And then I, as a partner owner, like partner manager, I may want to be able to go back at the end of the year and tell you, hey, we closed $400,000 in opportunities that you gave us a referral for, that you stood up and spoke for us for. We know we don't have a commission-based relationship, but we want to send you we want to make sure we know that value, and we're going to send you a new flight jacket or a ticket to the conference. Like, you want to reward that, even if it's not a compensation, but you can't reward what you can't track. So technically speaking, again, CRMs, there's no CRM in the world. If you find it, if you have it, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll give you my personal phone number. You can fly to Arkansas and we can have a conversation, or I'll come to you, because I've yet to find a CRM that is actually built for partnerships. Salesforce is the world's leading CRM. They're the original SaaS company. All of their partner architecture is only unlocked after you buy PRM licensing, which is a different license model. Then you get a structure that is built for channel resellers, which is a 20 to 30-year-old business, 30-year-old business around distribution, actually having something to resell. Like, that model doesn't work in SaaS, not the same way, not at all. It's not equipped to manage OEM partners, agency partners, referral partners, technology partners, go-to-market ISVs. Like, it's not equipped to manage all these other new programs. That's the challenge we're in right now. So when you get in there and you look at the CRM, you got your marketing stuff. Those tools are there. Marketing's got their tools set up, and you're coming in and partner ops. Maybe they got one of these PRMs turned on and you're getting into the system. And what you're going to find typically is you've got some basic reporting against leads and opportunities, and you go ask the PM, hey, great. How do you identify the partners you're working with? And depending on the company, I've got that in a G sheet, or I keep that in an Excel, or I've got a note on my computer of my active partners, right? So that's the break to me, Ian, is that attribution can absolutely be done. You can't
tie those things back to revenue.
Not that way, right? So they have an account in the CRM, but that account is being used to connect directly to a lead. That's an immature model. Does it work? Yes. Can you get far with it? You can actually get a lot further than you would think without maturing that model. But what happens is you add a couple of more fields for partner, because now we want program. And now we want, okay, great. Now we want to track program. Well, now we want to track commission. Okay, we'll do the commission on the opportunity. So once again, in my experience, you start to ask for more on that opportunity. You're still not doing, this is the gap. I'm going to say this here because this has been a big revelation for me, and it's what I'm advocating. The gap is that you want to do attribution in the CRM because you have to prove the value of your program, but you haven't got program management holistically in the CRM to do that well. So every time you want to make a change, it's, I got to go to sales ops and ask for a new value in a pick list. I got to go to sales ops and ask for a new field. You don't have the tools you need to manage your program. That's going to make attribution and scalable attribution very difficult. And then you're going to get into conflict with, hey guys, you've got 30 fields on the opportunity, and sales, we got to cut that back because sales needs, we're doing a new sales methodology because we got a new CRO and we got to gut the system. Like that's what you're going to run up against.
That's right.
So my ongoing preference is like, great, if you don't have a lot of limitations, so if your audience is large in marketing, by the way, if you want to be a super valuable like asset to your partnership team, go advocate for this kind of stuff for them on their behalf before they have ops. They will be like blown away because this matters to you too. But my advocation is definitely, if you want real attribution, you have to start with program management, and you have to build that from scratch. None of these platforms have active program management tools.
From scratch, is that like custom objects?
Typically so. Like if you listen to
inside?
Salesforce, if you activate the licensing and you pay for a PRM license and
Well,
you're
let's say
on,
if
I
you
think the
don't, because
professional.
you can build custom object. Like, what if
Oh
you
yeah.
just built a custom
Well,
object?
let's be clear too. Every one of these platforms has a cost for custom objects. HubSpot
Sure.
sounds great until you get to, oh, I need custom objects. Well, my understanding of HubSpot right now, when you get to the pricing comparison for custom objects, you are entering enterprise level pricing that compares to Salesforce at the end of the day. And you've got different caveats for, can you even create the objects without HubSpot's help? Last I heard, you can't. You have to go to HubSpot support, have them create the object for you, and then you can start to work with it.
Got it.
Right. So it's just things you have to understand. But absolutely, you can create custom objects. The downside to custom objects is now we go to a PRM platform that's not built to ingest or segment my partner experience based on a secondary custom object where I manage program. They want all those attributions at the account.
Yeah.
Right. So you're getting into technology gaps. And this is where I go back to what I said. I think PRM platforms absolutely have a place. I think early stage companies generally don't need them. I think if you get into a PRM because you need deal reg, you're probably overspending to solve a problem you could fix with a lead form. Hey, marketing team, you got access to create all the lead forms you want, right? Through Marketo or great. Why can't a partner get a custom lead form and use that to drop leads in the system as deal reg for now? I definitely think walk, crawl, run. So I just think there's better solutions to help you figure out what you need. But again, it's all going to be custom. And this is where attribution fails, right? If you build a good program management model, then you can spin up new programs, associate those programs, and you're building yourself a new, basically your own software kind of inside the CRM for partnerships. And that's my advocation, whether it's HubSpot, Salesforce, anything else. Partnerships needs its own tool set, just like marketing has its own tool set, just like sales has a tool set, just like CS has a tool set. I'm just a little different in the partner tech space because I don't necessarily think you need to go buy that tool set. If your CRM, because you said CRM is where people live, I'm not going to ask my salespeople, because that's who we're supporting with all this by the end of the day. I can't ask them to go yet another system to engage with partners and do shit. Sorry, I don't know if your podcast is a profanity laced podcast or not. That just falls out of my mouth sometimes. Yeah. Anyways, I think you get my point. I could stand on this platform forever and just preach, but I'll shut up. Let you respond again.
No, I think I'm learning as we're going here. I mean, this is a whole new space for me, so it's really fascinating. But what I'm hearing, and we started with or opened with, what do you do outside of just tracking things with campaigns? But what I'm hearing is not what you keep doing. You use campaigns, but you have to change the process in which campaigns are used within just the general structure of Salesforce. Is that a correct statement?
Yeah, I think so. Right. You have to think about it holistically.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think that makes sense, because to your point, like, you're not butchering the opportunity. You're using campaigns in the structure in which you already have, but you're optimizing the process. Again, kind of more of the operations piece, the process in which information is entered into those campaigns.
Make a small caveat about campaigns, right? I still think, well, if you're doing collaborative campaigns with partner, there's no reason to change your attribution model.
No.
Right. What I'm talking about specifically is when you have deal registration or partner engagement for influence, which are separate from, we had a big event, we had a big webinar, we were in a shared affiliate campaign. Like, those are different types of attribution that definitely have their place on the front end of the funnel. But when you're talking about that partner engagement, partners brought us a customer, specifically sent this over to Aaron. Aaron put it in the CRM, get that to the direct rep, build the introduction. Like, that's the problem people are trying to solve right now. When it comes to attribution, is I've got the front end stuff. We can do that through marketing, but what happens when they didn't come in through the campaign? So our campaign, we go to the ABM perspective, which, by the way, I love account-based marketing. I think it makes so much more sense. HubSpot's winning there because they're like, guys, that's how our whole arc. We've been doing that for years. We've never had leads, right? Like, good for you. You win. Salesforce has yet to figure that out. Everybody's building custom. Had to mean about that today. Like, great. How do we do account matching? Well, we have to build custom solutions because Salesforce doesn't do it automatically. Whatever. All I say, you got to keep that in play, right? This is where I think the marketing connection, and this is where I'll go to marketing teams and advocate big time here too, right? Like, partner contacts. Let's think about this. when you have a partner contact, if somebody who's, both a customer and a contact, it's a whole nother conversation. But if they're a customer and a partner, well, you have two different marketing lists. And this is where I go to marketing to get support and say, hey, marketing, how do we pull a list of our partner contacts? Typically they go ask the PAMs for that list of people. And I'm like, well, we need a partner contact flag. And that, like, in my opinion, if you're a partner, you can never opt out of business communications from you can as a customer, right? I won't send you customer stuff. That's legal rules, but we have a business contract, and I'm going to stipulate in my partner agreement that you must always receive program information. You cannot opt out of program information because that puts our financial arrangement at risk, right?
Sure.
That's the kind of stuff that I think typically, when I go to marketing, they don't think about that often. Again, it's not their wheelhouse. They're thinking about the GDPR. They're thinking about customer acquisition. So that's one of those places where I think partner ops, right? Somebody took it just yesterday. For me, partner ops is a really broad focus. As you can see, I've got a really random generalized background that I finally figured out a few years ago has made me well suited for what I do, because I've worked in and around sales, I've worked in and around marketing, I've worked in and around CS, I've worked in product development, I've worked in database administration, implementations, onboarding. And now what I feel like my mission is, my job in partner operations, it's not to know how to do all these things. It's to be able to advocate for partnerships in those spaces and bring the partnership side of the conversation to you and say, hey, how do we do this? Here's what we're thinking. How do we achieve this in light of what you're already doing so we can leverage this together? Because I think partnerships has to be deeply integrated into the rhythm of the company. And that's what partner operations, that's what my personal mission is around partner operations. It's not to be the guy that's out here processing all the partner deals. I don't want to work a deal desk for partnerships. I want to teach our deal desk how to incorporate partner deals into their current rhythm.
Just be part of the process. Yeah. And I think that's why this has been such a fun conversation, and why I think moving in, even just having a second session together of what that looks like is the process of coming all together and being part of the same process, and bringing it all the way back to attribution. And like what I'm hoping people hear on this today is, like, if it's a part of the process, doing multi-touch attribution across all of it does incorporate partnerships in it. And that's, again, for those who are consistent listeners, I believe in the entire go-to-market motion, right? I don't believe in just this one, like just marketing engagement and tracking just marketing. And so I really appreciate the approach and the thought process on all of this, and how we can track across all of it in a linear fashion. And again, sales at the end of the day is going to get all of that, but how do you make your go-to-market motion efficient, and how do you, close more deals, and which at the end of the day makes partnerships more valuable, makes marketing more valuable, makes everyone in part of that engagement more valuable. So Aaron, I appreciate you being on today and having this discussion.
Yeah, I appreciate it too. I want to end with one last thought. I think one of the keys to successful partner attribution is for our executive leaders to remember that partnerships are not another marketing campaign. You can't just say, great, this event was 6 months. What's our 6-month ROI? That's typical for marketing, but that's not how partnerships work, but that's how they treat it.
That's right.
So they build attribution models that reflect that. And what I'm advocating for, and I think what you're seeing and asking for too, is great. We need something that's more mature than that from the beginning. And that takes intentionality, that takes strategy. Might have some help coming for that next year. But Ian, I've appreciated the conversations. I got to go twice. I don't know how many of your guests come back for twofers, but I feel really special.
I mean, you are more special than anyone else so far. So thank you.
I'll take it, man. Thanks for the time. I appreciate it.